The warp was screaming. In his brass throne room, in a dimension where rage and bloodshed gave form to reality, Khorne watched through the eyes of his champions. The blood god had existed since the first human murder, growing stronger with every act of violence across the galaxy. He'd witnessed the rise and fall of empires, had claimed the souls of countless warriors, had corrupted Primarchs themselves. And now, something impossible had entered his domain of influence. Something that killed his demons permanently. Something that couldn't be corrupted, couldn't be tempted, couldn't even be properly perceived by the warp. Khorne wanted it. The blood god's will rippled across the materium. Khornite cults received visions. A bald warrior in yellow who must be claimed for the blood god's glory. Chaos Space Marines of the World Eater's Legion felt the butcher's nails hammered into their brains' pulse with new purpose. Find the anomaly, test him, break him, make him kneel or kill him trying. But Khorne's greatest champion, his finest instrument of rage and slaughter, was already moving. War Master Khajan the Bloodbound, demon prince of Khorne, had carved a swathe of destruction across the Imperium Nihilus for 600 years. He'd been a world eater before Ascension, had fought in the Horus Heresy, had drunk so deeply of slaughter that Khorne himself had elevated him beyond mortality. Now he stood 15 feet tall, even without the wings. His skin the color of spilled blood, his armor forged from the bones of the loyalist space marines he'd killed. He stood in the bridge of the Devourer's Wrath, a warship that had seen 10,000 years of service to chaos. Around him, his warband, 200 world eaters, each one a veteran of the Long War, prepared for battle. 12 sectors ahead, rasped the ship's navigator, a mutant whose third eye had been replaced with a brass medallion showing Khorne's mark. The Space Marine strike cruiser carrying the anomaly, the warp parts before it strangely, like the tides, fear what it carries. Good. Khajan's voice was like grinding stone, each word labored through a throat that had roared too many battle cries. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne, and this anomaly's skull will sit at Khorne's right hand. The unyielding resolve detected the Chaos warship 3 hours before engagement range. Brother Captain Hadrian studied the augur readings and felt his enhanced heart rate increase. That profile, he knew that ship. Every warrior who'd fought in the Imperium Nihilus knew that ship. All hands, battle stations, Hadrian commanded. Geller fields to maximum, weapons primed. Prepare for boarding actions. He activated the General Vox. This is the Devourer's Wrath. War Master Khajan, the Bloodbound. He's killed 8 Space Marine captains and destroyed an entire chapter. He's coming for us. Saitama, who'd been in his assigned quarters reading an Imperial primer someone had given him, he'd found it confusing and overly violent, looked up. Is that bad? He's a demon prince, Hadrian said over the Vox. Immortal, empowered by Khorne himself. His mere presence drives mortals insane. His strength exceeds even dreadnoughts. He's another bad guy, Saitama finished. Got it. Where is he? Converging on our position. Saitama, this isn't a Tyranid swarm or standard Chaos Marines. This is one of Khorne's chosen. He's killed entire companies of Space Marines. He won't stop until... The ship shuddered. Impact. The Devourer's Wrath had fired boarding torpedoes, and through the hull they came. World Eaters, roaring with the butcher's nails driving them into berserker fury, chainswords screaming, bolt pistols barking. They hit Deck 7 and began killing. The ship's armsmen, trained soldiers who served as crew, died in seconds. Servitors were torn apart. The World Eaters carved toward the bridge with practiced efficiency, leaving a trail of blood and corpses. Saitama walked down the corridor toward the sound of chainswords and screaming. He turned a corner and found himself facing 12 World Eaters mid-slaughter. They were covered in blood, some of it theirs, most of it not. Their armor was the deep red of dried blood, covered in brass trim and Kornite symbols. They saw him and charged instantly. No words, no threats, just immediate, mindless violence. The butcher's nails demanded blood, and he was available blood. Saitama sighed and flicked his finger 12 times in rapid succession. 12 World Eaters exploded into red mist. Their armor clattered to the deck in pieces. "This is getting old," Saitama muttered, stepping over the remains. He found more World Eaters on Deck 5. More finger flicks. On Deck 3, he encountered a squad using meltaguns, weapons that fired fusion beams hot enough to vaporize tank armor. They fired at him. The beams washed over his suit harmlessly. He punched once, and the resulting shockwave turned the entire squad into paste. In the bridge, Hadrian watched tactical displays showing Saitama's progress. The red enemy markers were vanishing at an impossible rate. "He's killing them faster than they can board," he said, half in awe, half in horror. Aboard the Devourer's Wrath, War Master Kajan felt his warriors dying. Each death sent a pulse through the connection all Kornates shared, the blood bond that tied them to their god. Usually, World Eater deaths came slowly, in glorious combat. These deaths were instantaneous, clean, almost dismissive. It enraged him. "Enough!" Kajan roared, his voice echoing across both ships through some warp-borne effect. "I come for you, Anomaly. Face me. Show me your skull." He didn't use boarding torpedoes. Demon princes didn't require such niceties. He simply tore a hole in reality between the two ships and stepped through, bringing 3 of his finest champions with him. They manifested on Deck 1, directly in Saitama's path. The air around them boiled with warp energy. The deck plates buckled under Kajan's weight. His wings, tattered membranes of flayed skin, spread wide. In his hands, he carried Skulltaker, a demon weapon forged in Khorne's own forge, an axe that had ended Primarchs. Saitama looked at the 15-foot-tall demon prince and his 3 champions. "You guys again? Look, I'm really tired of fighting you red people. You're not very creative." "You dare," Kajan snarled. "I am Khorne's chosen. I have fought for 10,000 years. I have..." Saitama punched him. Not a serious punch, just a regular punch, thrown with the same casual energy someone might use to close a door that was bothering them. War Master Kajan, the Bloodbound, Demon Prince of Khorne, champion who'd fought in the Horus Heresy, who'd killed 8 Space Marine captains and destroyed the entire Angel's Revenant chapter, who'd bathed in the blood of 1 billion victims, exploded. His physical form disintegrated, his demon essence shattered, his connection to the warp severed. Even in Khorne's brass throne room, the echo of his death resonated. The blood god felt his champion's soul not return to him, not feed back into the warp, but simply cease. The 3 World Eater champions stared at the empty space where their demon prince had been. Saitama looked at them. "Do you guys want to leave?" Or, they charged. They died. 3 finger flicks, 3 red mists. Saitama walked back to his quarters. "I should tell the captain guy that it's safe now," he said to himself. In the warp, in the brass citadel, on the throne of skulls, Khorne rose to his feet. The movement sent shockwaves across the dimension. Lesser demons scattered in terror. The blood god's rage was a physical force, and it was focused entirely on one target. This anomaly, had killed his greater demon, destroyed hundreds of his world eaters, obliterated his demon prince, not banished, not cast back to the warp, but actually destroyed, made to cease existing. Khorne's voice thundered across every realm where violence held sway. This one is mine. Find him. Test him. Break him. If you cannot break him, make him serve. If he will not serve, destroy him. Across the galaxy, every Khornate cult, every World Eater warband, every bloodthirsty champion felt the command. A crusade had been declared, not against the Imperium, not against a rival Chaos God, against one bald human in a yellow suit. In the other 3 Chaos Gods' realms, Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Slaanesh took notice. An anomaly that drew Khorne's full attention? That was interesting. That was exploitable. That was opportunity. The Great Game, the eternal war between the Chaos Gods for supremacy, had found a new piece on the board. And Saitama didn't even know the game existed. On the unyielding resolve, Brother Captain Hadrian found Saitama in the corridor, looking at the scorch marks on the walls from Melt-A-Fire. "Are you injured?" "No, I punched the big red guy and he exploded." "Was that the demon prince you mentioned?" Hadrian's face went through several expressions: shock, disbelief, something like religious awe. "You punched War Master Khajan, one of Khorne's chosen, and he exploded." "Yeah, he talked a lot before that, though. Something about skulls and blood. You guys really need to work on your bad guys having better material." Hadrian started laughing. Not a chuckle. Full, deep laughter that he couldn't stop. After 200 years of constant warfare, after watching worlds burn and brothers die, after the grinding horror of the Imperium Nihilus, he laughed until tears ran down his scarred face. "What's funny?" Saitama asked. "You," Hadrian managed between laughs. "You just punched a demon prince of Khorne into non-existence, and you're complaining about dialogue quality. The galaxy is insane, and somehow you're the sanest thing in it." Saitama scratched his head. "I just call it like I see it." "Lord Guilliman needs to meet you," Hadrian said, composing himself. "The Lord Commander of the Imperium needs to see this for himself, because if I tried to explain it in a report, they'd brand me a madman. Is he another person who wants to test me by fighting? Probably. He's a Primarch, 10 feet tall, enhanced beyond even Space Marines, wielder of the Emperor's sword, master tactician, and one of only 2 loyal sons of the Emperor still active. Does he ever get tired of fighting?" Hadrian's laughter died. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. None of us get tired. We just keep continue 22/55 fighting until we die. And even then, he gestured at the servo skulls floating by, human skulls turned into simple machines. Even death doesn't end the service. Saitama looked at a servo skull, then back at Hadrian. "That's really depressing." "Welcome to Warhammer 40,000, Hadrian said. And somehow Saitama understood he meant something more than just a date. The Tau Empire's diplomatic vessel Dawn of Unity maintained a respectful distance from the Imperial fleet. Its sleek, alien design stood in stark contrast to the Gothic brutality of Imperium ships. Smooth curves where Imperial vessels had spikes, blue and white where they had rust and gold, optimization where they had prayer scrolls. Commander Brightsword stood on the bridge, his hands clasped behind his back in the formal Tau manner. The water-caste diplomat beside him, Ambassador O'Shasera, reviewed the data feeds with growing fascination. "This human," O'Shasera said in the melodic Tau language. "The one designated Saitama. Our intelligence indicates he possesses capabilities that defy conventional physics." The greater good could benefit from such power, Brightsword observed, if he could be reasoned with. If he could see beyond the Imperium's fanaticism. That is why we're here, Commander, to offer perspective, to show him there is another way. The Tau Empire was young, barely 6,000 years old in a galaxy where the Imperium counted time in millennia. They believed in the greater good, a philosophy of unity and progress that stood in stark opposition to the Imperium's xenophobic fanaticism. They incorporated other species into their empire. They used diplomacy before warfare. They represented something the Imperium considered heretical: hope. The message they transmitted to the unyielding resolve was simple. We request parley with the warrior called Saitama. We offer knowledge, not conflict. Respond if you value truth over dogma. Brother Captain Hadrian read the transmission and immediately contacted Inquisitor Salazar, who'd remained on another ship in the fleet. Her response was predictable. The Tau, Xenos scum, refuse all contact. If they persist, open fire. They specifically request Saitama, Hadrian noted, not the Imperium, him. He is under Imperial jurisdiction. He does not negotiate with Xenos. With respect, Inquisitor, Saitama doesn't really follow Imperial jurisdiction. He follows Punch Bad Guy's jurisdiction. If we refuse and the Tau persist, they might become bad guys in his assessment. Salazar was silent for a long moment. Let me speak with him first. 20 minutes later, Saitama sat in a briefing room with Salazar, Hadrian, and 3 other Space Marine officers. The Inquisitor activated a holodisplay showing images of Tau, blue-skinned humanoids with hooved feet and flat faces. These are the Tau, Salazar began. Xenos. Aliens. They claim to follow something called the greater good, a philosophy of unity and cooperation. They sound reasonable. They appear civilized. This is deception. How do you know? Saitama asked. Because they're Xenos. Their very existence is a threat to humanity. The Emperor teaches us that mankind must stand alone, must purge the alien to survive. The Tau offer partnership, but it's a trap. They sterilize human populations, brainwash them with propaganda, and slowly erase human culture. But do they kill people? Salazar hesitated. Their methods are more subtle than outright genocide. They conquer through soft power, making humans dependent on their technology, their governance. Within a generation, human worlds under Tau control forget the Emperor entirely. So they're like peaceful conquerors. There is no such thing as peaceful conquest, Hadrian interjected. But the Inquisitor is correct. The Tau represent ideological contamination. They make humans question the Imperium's necessity. That questioning spreads like disease. Saitama leaned back in his chair. Can I talk to them? I want to hear what they have to say. Absolutely not, Salazar said flatly. Xenos contact without inquisitorial supervision is heresy. I cannot allow. I'm not really asking permission, Saitama said, his tone still mild but carrying an edge of finality. You keep telling me about threats and enemies, but you won't let me decide for myself. These Tau people ask to talk. Talking to someone isn't a crime where I'm from. This isn't where you're from, Salazar's voice rose. This is the Imperium of man, where Xenos contact is punishable by execution, where even listening to alien lies can corrupt your soul. I am trying to protect you from what? Having a conversation? Saitama stood. Look, you've all been helpful explaining this place, but you also execute people for thinking wrong and you blow up planets because it's efficient. Maybe the Tau people are bad. Maybe they're not. But I'm going to find out myself. The room went silent. Salazar's hand drifted toward her bolt pistol, then stopped. She couldn't stop Saitama. Nobody on this ship could stop Saitama. Threatening him was pointless. If you do this, she said carefully, you become suspect in the Inquisition's eyes. Everything you've done, saving those people on Perdition's fall, destroying the Demon Prince, all of it becomes tainted by Xenos contact. Then I guess I'm suspect. Saitama walked toward the door. I'll be back after I talk to them, unless they're actually evil, in which case I'll punch them. Hadrian stood. I'm going with you. Brother Captain, you cannot... Salazar began. He's my assigned charge. Where he goes, I go. That's the mission Lord Calgar gave me. Hadrian's tone brooked no argument. Besides, if the Tau truly are as dangerous as we claim, wouldn't we want a first-hand account? 2 hours later, Saitama and Hadrian stood in the dawn of Unity's conference chamber. The room was elegant in its simplicity. Clean lines, holographic displays showing peaceful worlds, and a table made from some blue crystal that seemed to glow with inner light. Commander Brightsword and Ambassador Oshacera greeted them with formal Tau bows. The ambassador spoke in perfect Gothic, the Imperium's common language. Thank you for accepting our invitation, Saitama, and Brother Captain Hadrian of the Genesis chapter. We are honored by your presence. You speak our language, Hadrian noted suspiciously. The greater good teaches that communication prevents conflict, Oshacera replied smoothly. We study those we encounter. We learn, we adapt. It is how civilization advances. The Imperium considers advancement heresy, Hadrian said flatly. Yes, we know. It is one of many tragic limitations of Imperial doctrine. Oshacera gestured to the table. Please sit. We have much to discuss. Saitama sat. Hadrian remained standing, one hand near his bolt pistol. The ambassador noticed, but didn't comment. Saitama, we've observed your actions across 3 systems. You saved 800 million lives on Perdition's fall, a feat the Imperium considered impossible. You destroyed a greater demon of Khorne with casual effort. You obliterated a demon prince that had plagued the Imperium Nihilus for centuries. Oshacera leaned forward. You are a force that could reshape the galaxy. Yet you serve the Imperium, an empire built on fanaticism, xenophobia, and the suffering of trillions. I'm not serving them, Saitama corrected. I'm helping people who need help. There are bad guys everywhere, so I punch them. But who defines bad guys? Oshacera asked gently. The Imperium executes billions of its own citizens yearly. Thought crimes, religious heresy, genetic impurity. They practice genocide against peaceful species who sought only to coexist. Are they not bad guys by your definition? Saitama frowned. They told me they do that stuff because chaos is real, that corruption spreads, that they have to be harsh or humanity dies. Chaos is real, Commander Brightsword admitted. We do not deny this, but the Tau Empire faces chaos as well, and we do not resort to such brutality. We use education, not execution, quarantine, not extermination, progress, not stagnation. How's that working for you? Hadrian asked coldly. We thrive, Brightsword replied. Our empire expands, our citizens live in prosperity. We incorporate other species, humans included, and they find purpose in the greater good. No arbitrary executions, no burning of knowledge. No sacrifice of psychers to keep a corpse emperor alive. Hadrian's hand went to his bolt pistol. "Speak of the Emperor with respect, Xenos." "Peace, brother captain." Oshacera raised a placating hand. "We mean no offense. We simply state observable facts. Your emperor has sat on his throne for 10,000 years, maintained by the daily sacrifice of 1,000 psychers. The Tau find this practice barbaric." "The emperor protects humanity," Hadrian said through clenched teeth. "From what? From chaos you helped create through 10 millennia of suffering? From Xenos you wage eternal war against? From yourselves?" Oshacera turned back to Saitama. "We offer you an alternative. Join the greater good. Use your power to protect all sentient life, not just humans. Help us build a galaxy where strength serves peace, not endless war." Saitama was quiet for a long moment. "Your people don't hurt innocents?" "We conquer when necessary, yes. But we integrate, not exterminate. Humans under Tau governance live better lives than in the Imperium. No hive cities where billions starve in darkness. No executions for questioning authority. No forced military service where life expectancy is measured in hours." "And the cost?" Saitama asked. Oshacera hesitated, just for a second. "They must accept the greater good, abandon the Emperor, embrace our philosophy. So you erase their culture. We evolve it, we improve it. Is that not preferable to the Imperium's method? Work until you die, then be rendered into corpse starch to feed the next generation?" Saitama stood and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. Both the Tau representatives and Hadrian watched him, each hoping he'd choose their side. "I've been in this universe for maybe a month," Saitama said finally. "Everyone keeps telling me their way is right. The Imperium says kill all Xenos or humanity dies. You say join the greater good or stay trapped in darkness. But you're all the same." "How so?" Oshacera asked, genuine curiosity in her voice. "You're both so sure you're right that you can't imagine another way. The Imperium burns planets because they can't think of anything else. You want me to abandon humans who follow the Emperor because you can't imagine they might have good reasons." He turned to face them. "In my world, I fought monsters. Some were obvious, giant crabs, evil cyborgs, whatever. But the hardest fights were against people who thought they were heroes. They decided who deserved to live and who didn't. They'd chosen sides and declared everyone else the enemy." "And what did you do?" Commander Brightsword asked. "I punched them too," Saitama said simply. "Because the moment you decide some people don't matter, you've become the bad guy. Doesn't matter if you're human or alien. Doesn't matter if your reasons sound good." Oshacera's expression showed disappointment. "So, you choose the Imperium's genocide over our enlightenment?" "I'm not choosing either of you," Saitama said. "I'm choosing the people who need help. If the Imperium kills innocents, I'll stop them. If your greater good hurts people, I'll stop you too. I'm not joining your war. I'm just going to punch whoever's being evil." "That's remarkably naive," Oshacera said, though not unkindly. "The galaxy doesn't work that way. You must choose a side, or you'll be crushed between them." "I've been hearing that a lot," Saitama admitted, "but I've also been doing fine so far. Thanks for talking to me, though. At least you didn't immediately try to kill me." "The offer remains open," Commander Brightsword said. "When you tire of the Imperium's cruelty, when you see enough worlds burn for no reason, the Tau Empire will welcome you. And when you realize the Xenos cannot be trusted," Hadrian added, "the Imperium will forgive this lapse in judgment." Saitama looked between them. "You're both so sure I'll come around to your side," Has it occurred to either of you that maybe I won't? That maybe both of you need to change? The silence that followed suggested it had not occurred to either of them. As they prepared to leave, Oshasera handed Saitama a small device. A communication beacon. If you ever need to contact us, simply activate it. No obligation. Just remember that alternatives exist. Hadrian moved to intercept, but Saitama pocketed the device before the Space Marine could object. On the shuttle ride back to the unyielding Resolve, Hadrian was uncharacteristically quiet. Finally, he spoke. You realize you've now made yourself suspect to both the Imperium and the Tau? Neither side will trust you completely. Good, Saitama said. Trust means expectations. I don't want anyone expecting me to follow their rules. That's not how the galaxy works. Then maybe the galaxy's working wrong. Hadrian laughed bitterly. 10,000 years of human history, and you think you can fix it with simple philosophy? I don't know about fixing it, Saitama admitted. But I can keep punching the bad guys. And if someone tells me to stop helping people because it doesn't fit their plan, well, he shrugged. They become bad guys too. When they docked, Inquisitor Salazar was waiting. Her expression was cold. You accepted a Xenos device. You spoke with them for over an hour. You did not immediately report their treasonous words. Explain yourself. They wanted to recruit me, Saitama said honestly. I said no. They gave me a phone in case I changed my mind. I won't, but I kept it to be polite. To be polite, Salazar repeated flatly. You kept a Xenos communication device to be polite. Yeah, they were pretty nice, actually. Still trying to make me join their team, but at least they asked instead of ordering. Salazar's hand trembled slightly on her bolt pistol. You are either the most dangerous heretic I've encountered or too naive to corrupt. I cannot determine which. I'm just a hero for fun, Saitama said. But if it helps, I'm not joining the Tau. I'm also not really joining the Imperium. I'm just helping whoever needs help and punching whoever's causing problems. That is not how the Imperium operates. I know, but it's how I operate. Saitama started walking toward his quarters. If that's a problem, you can try to stop me. But I think we both know how that would go. Salazar watched him leave, her mind racing. She'd spent 40 years hunting heretics, Xenos, and demons. She'd learned to recognize threats to the Imperium in all their forms. Saitama fit none of her categories. He was powerful beyond measure, but refused to use that power for conquest. He was approached by Xenos, but rejected their offers. He helped the Imperium, but wouldn't serve it. What do you do with a weapon that refuses to be wielded? She activated her encrypted Vox link, connecting to a frequency that reached across light years. When the connection stabilized, she spoke carefully. This is Inquisitor Covenant Salazar, Ordo Malleus. I need to speak with Lord Commander Guilliman. Priority Alpha. Subject, anomaly designated Saitama. Status, critical. Recommendation, direct Primarch intervention required. The response came 6 hours later, routed through 17 secure channels. Message received. Lord Commander Guilliman will rendezvous at Macragge in 14 days. Maintain visual contact with subject. Do not attempt termination. Repeat, do not attempt termination. Salazar read the message 3 times. The Primarch himself was coming. The Lord Commander of the Imperium, one of the Emperor's own sons, was personally intervening. Either Saitama was about to become the Imperium's greatest asset or its greatest threat. The Black Legion's flagship, Vengeful Spirit, named for Horus's own vessel from the heresy, translated into real space with reality screaming. The ship was a cathedral of corruption. 3 miles of twisted metal covered in blasphemous symbols. Its hull composed partially of solidified warp energy. From its bridge, War Master Abaddon the Despoiler surveyed the Imperium Nihilus with ancient, hate-filled eyes. 13 Black Crusades. 13 times he'd struck at the Imperium from the Eye of Terror. The 13th had succeeded. Cadia had fallen. The Great Rift had torn the galaxy in half. He was the War Master, heir to Horus's legacy, wielder of the Talon of Horus, and the greatest threat to the Imperium since the heresy itself. And Khorne had whispered to him about an anomaly. "The Blood God is agitated," observed Morathi the Plague Weaver, a sorcerer of Tzeentch who served in Abaddon's inner circle. His champions destroyed, his demon prince obliterated, all by one individual. Then he has found a worthy opponent. Abaddon's voice resonated through his Terminator armor. The Talon of Horus, a massive power claw that had ended countless heroes, flexed experimentally. And what Khorne wants, I want to deny him. This anomaly will serve me or be destroyed before the Blood God can claim him. The Imperium guards him closely. Inquisition presence, Space Marine escort. Even now, they route him toward Macragge, where Guilliman awaits. Abaddon's laugh was like stones grinding. Guilliman. The avenging bean counter returns from his 10,000-year nap and thinks he can save the Imperium. Let him try. I will take this anomaly before the Primarch even arrives. The plan was elegant in its brutality. A full Black Legion strike force, 500 Chaos Space Marines, 3 companies of cultists, and 2 squadrons of demon engines. They would hit the Imperial fleet at Kalos Tertius, a mining world on the route to Macragge. They would overwhelm the defenders. They would capture Saitama. And if capture proved impossible, they would kill him and deny Khorne his prize. Brother Captain Hadrian received the distress signal while the fleet was in transit. Kalos Tertius under assault. Black Legion identified. Enemy forces estimate overwhelming. Request immediate assistance. The fleet commander, Admiral Vorchi, made the only call possible. We're 12 hours out at best speed. They'll be dead by then. We have to try, Hadrian insisted. That's an Imperial mining world, 3 billion people. And we have our mission. Deliver Saitama to Lord Guilliman. We cannot risk him on a relief operation. Saitama, listening from the bridge observation deck, spoke up. 3 billion people? Mining world, Hadrian explained. They dig out rare minerals for the Imperium, mostly undefended, a few guard regiments, 1 Space Marine garrison. Against a Black Legion strike force? He didn't need to finish. Change course, Saitama said. Go to that planet. That's not your decision, Admiral Vorche began. 3 billion people, Saitama repeated. I can help them. Change course. We have orders from Lord Guilliman himself. Saitama walked over to the navigation console. Which button makes the ship go there? Hadrian stepped between him and the console. Saitama, this isn't a rescue operation. This is a Black Legion attack. Abaddon the Despoiler leads them. He's 10,000 years old, wielder of ancient weapons, bearer of the Chaos God's favor. He's killed Primarchs. Is he a bad guy? The worst bad guy in the galaxy. Then I definitely need to punch him. Saitama looked at the Admiral. Either change course or I'll find a way there myself. I can probably jump from here if I try hard enough. Vorcha looked at Hadrian, who nodded slowly. He will, and he'll probably miss and land in the void. Or he'll make it, and we lose all tactical coordination. Emperor preserve us, Vorcha muttered. Helm, alter course. Caelus Tertius, maximum speed. They arrived 11 hours later to a system in flames. Caelus Tertius's orbital defenses had been obliterated. Wreckage of defense platforms tumbled through space, still burning. The Black Legion fleet surrounded the planet, their ships vomiting drop pods and Dreadclaw assault craft. On the surface, the Imperial defenders were dying. The mining world's primary hive, Caelus Primus, held 600 million people. The Black Legion had breached its walls and now fought through the streets. Chaos Space Marines killed with mechanical efficiency. Cultists swarmed in their thousands. Demon engines, Helldrakes, Mauler fiends, possessed machines screaming with bound demons, tore through buildings. And at the center, leading from the front as War Master demanded, Abaddon the Despoiler, carved through a company of Imperial Guard. The Talon of Horus tore men apart. His sword, Drachnian, a demon weapon containing the first murder ever committed, killed with every scratch. Around him, his bringers of despair, his elite Terminator bodyguard, massacred anything that approached. For the War Master, the Black Legion roared. Then Saitama landed in the middle of them. The impact crater was modest. Saitama stood, dusted off his suit and looked around. Hi, I'm here to stop you. The Black Legion paused. A few dozen Chaos Space Marines, cultists, and demon engines all turned to stare at this bald human in a yellow suit who just arrived via orbital insertion without armor. Abaddon studied him from across the battlefield. His sensors, corrupted and enhanced by 10 millennia of warp exposure, tried to analyze Saitama. The readings made no sense, like looking at a hole in reality shaped like a human. You are the anomaly, Abaddon's vox-amplified voice boomed. The one who destroyed Kaijan, who resists the warp, who fights with physical force alone. I guess, Saitama said. Are you Abaddon? I am Ezekiel Abaddon, War Master of Chaos, heir to Horus, toppler of Cadia, breaker of the Imperium. I have fought for 10,000 years. I have killed heroes whose legends span millennia. I have brought empires to ruin. Cool, Saitama said. But you're hurting people, so I'm going to stop you. Abaddon laughed. You think you can stop me? Khorne couldn't claim you. The Imperium cannot control you. What makes you think you can stand against the Black Legion? Usually because I'm stronger than whoever I'm fighting, Saitama said. Hasn't failed yet. Then let me be the first. Abaddon raised the Talon of Horus. Kill him. 500 Black Legion Space Marines opened fire simultaneously. Bolt rounds, plasma, melta, autocannon fire, enough ordnance to level city blocks. The barrage lasted 15 seconds, turning the area where Saitama stood into a crater of molten rockcrete and vaporized stone. When the smoke cleared, Saitama stood exactly where he'd been, completely unharmed. Are you done? The Black Legion stared. Abaddon's ancient brain, corrupted by chaos but still tactically brilliant, recalibrated. This wasn't a normal enemy. This required personal intervention. Bringers of despair, Abaddon commanded. With me. His bodyguard, 10 Terminators, each one a veteran of the Long War, each one carrying weapons that had ended heroes, advanced alongside their War Master. They surrounded Saitama, each one towering over him in their massive armor. You should surrender, Saitama suggested. This doesn't have to end with everyone getting punched. Surrender? Abaddon raised Drachnian. The demon sword screamed, eager for soul feast. I knelt once to Horus. Never again. Now I make the galaxy kneel to me. He swung Drachnian with all his strength, a blow that had cleaved through Imperial knights, that carried the weight of 10,000 years of hatred and the first murder ever committed. The blade came down toward Saitama's head. Saitama caught it between two fingers. The demon's sword shrieked, not a battle cry, but genuine distress. Its essence, the pure concept of murder made manifest, could not pierce this bald man's skin, could not even scratch him. "This sword is kind of gross," Saitama observed. "It feels wrong." "Impossible!" Abaddon pulled, trying to free his blade. It didn't move. Saitama's grip was absolute. "Can you let go of the sword?" Saitama asked. "I want to get rid of it without hurting you." "Never." Abaddon's pride wouldn't allow it. The talon of Horus came up, power claw crackling. The weapon had torn through Primarchs, had ripped apart Imperial champions. It raked across Saitama's face and bounced off. The talon's power field overloaded. Warning runes lit up inside Abaddon's helmet. The ancient relic, wielded by Horus himself during the heresy, had just met something it couldn't break. "Okay, your turn's over," Saitama said. He flicked Drachnyan, the demon's sword, a weapon of ultimate evil containing the essence of humanity's first murder, shattered. The demon within screamed as it was banished not to the warp, but into true oblivion. Across the galaxy, every psyker sensitive enough felt the severing of something ancient and terrible. Abaddon stared at his empty hand. 10,000 years he'd wielded that blade. It was irreplaceable, and this bald human had just flicked it. "You're pretty tough," Saitama admitted. "Most people can't handle me even tapping them. But you're still a bad guy, so..." He punched Abaddon in the chest. Not seriously. Just a regular punch. The kind he'd used hundreds of times before. Ezekiel Abaddon, War Master of Chaos, flew backward so fast he left a sonic boom. He crashed through 3 buildings, a demon engine, and approximately 40 of his own troops before finally stopping half a mile away, embedded in a mining facility's wall. His Terminator armor, ancient, blessed by all 4 Chaos gods, repaired and enhanced over 10 millennia, showed cracks. His primary heart had stopped. His enhanced physiology struggled to restart it. Through the Vox, he heard his lieutenant. "War Master, status, do we engage?" Abaddon pulled himself from the wall. His armor's systems screamed damage warnings. His body ached in ways it hadn't since before his ascension. And for the first time in 10,000 years, Ezekiel Abaddon felt something he'd forgotten. Fear. "Retreat," he commanded. "Full withdrawal. All forces back to the ships. Now." "But War Master, we have superior numbers." "Did I stutter? Retreat." The Black Legion, drilled in perfect obedience, withdrew immediately. Drop pods launched. Dreadclaws scrambled for orbit. Within minutes, the Chaos forces were fleeing. Saitama watched them go, confused. Usually people keep fighting until I knock them out. Brother Captain Hadrian, who'd landed with a strike force minutes earlier, approached Saitama with something like religious awe on his face. "You just made Abaddon the Despoiler retreat. He hasn't retreated from personal combat in 10,000 years. You broke Drachnyan, a demon weapon that's existed since before the Imperium. You did it by flicking it." "It was really evil," Saitama said. "I could feel it. Had to get rid of it." Around them, the Imperial defenders emerged from cover. Guard regiments, the few surviving Space Marines, civilian militia, all of them staring at the bald man who'd just single-handedly broken a Black Legion assault. "Who is he?" one guardsman whispered. "The Emperor's angel." Another answered. "No," Hadrian corrected, amplifying his vox so all could hear. His name is Saitama. Remember it. He just saved 3 billion lives and drove back the greatest threat the Imperium faces. He turned to Saitama. Though Lord Gilliman is going to have questions. Many, many questions. About what? About what we're supposed to do with you. Hadrian's tone mixed respect and concern. You're not a space marine, not Inquisition, not even really Imperial. But you just accomplished what would require several chapters and cost millions of lives. You're a strategic asset, the likes of which the Imperium hasn't seen since the Emperor walked. I'm just a hero for fun, Saitama said. But 3 billion people is a lot. I'm glad I could help. Above, in orbit, the vengeful spirit translated back into the warp. On its bridge, Abaddon stood before a hololithic display showing Saitama's image. Morathi? He spoke to his sorcerer. What is he? The Tsenchian consulted forbidden texts, sifted through warp knowledge, and finally spoke. Unknown, War Master. He exists outside the Great Game, outside the warp's influence, outside fate itself. Even the Chaos Gods cannot see his thread in destiny's weave. Then he's the most dangerous thing in the galaxy, Abaddon said quietly. Because what you cannot see, you cannot control. And what you cannot control, he flexed his damaged talon, eventually kills you. Macraga's fortress of Hera had stood for 10,000 years, a monument to order, discipline, and the Ultramarines' unwavering dedication to the Emperor's vision. Its halls had witnessed Robut Guilliman's rule before his long sleep. Now, those same halls prepared for the returned Primarch's arrival. Saitama stood in the fortress's observation deck, looking out at the ordered cities below. 2 weeks had passed since Caelus Tertius. News of what happened had spread through the fleet, then through astropathic channels across the segmentum. The Imperium's propaganda machine had already begun crafting legends. Some called him the Emperor's avatar. Others whispered about Xenos infiltration. Still others claimed he was a sign of the end times. He just wanted to go home and catch a sail on eggs. Nervous? Brother Captain Hadrian asked, approaching from behind. Should I be? You're about to meet a Primarch, one of the Emperor's 20 sons, a demigod who conquered the galaxy alongside his father. Most people would be terrified. Is he a bad guy? No. Guilliman is perhaps the most reasonable of the Emperor's sons. Practical, logical, dedicated to humanity's survival. If any Primarch will understand you, it's him. Then I'm not nervous. Hadrian smiled slightly. You really do see the world simply, don't you? Complicated thinking just makes things harder. There are people who need help and people causing problems. Everything else is just details. In a galaxy of endless details, perhaps simple is revolutionary. The Primarch's shuttle arrived an hour later. Robut Guilliman emerged in his armor, a towering figure, 12 feet tall, clad in the armor of fate, wielding the Emperor's sword. His presence filled the landing bay with an aura of command that made even Space Marines stand straighter. This was the Avenging Sun, Lord Commander of the Imperium, the only loyal Primarch currently active in the galaxy. He saw Saitama standing with Hadrian and Chapter Master Calgar and strode directly toward them. So, Guilliman's voice was measured, intelligent, carrying 10,000 years of warfare and statecraft. This is the anomaly every report speaks of. I'm Saitama, Saitama said, extending his hand for a handshake. Guilliman looked at the offered hand, then at Calgar, who nodded slightly. The Primarch accepted the handshake. His enhanced senses analyzed everything. Grip, strength, impossible. Cellular density, impossible. Warp presence, non-existent. Reports indicate you destroyed a greater demon of Khorne, obliterated a demon prince, saved 800 million lives on Perdition's fall, and recently drove Abaddon the Despoiler into retreat while shattering Drachnyan. Gilliman's blue eyes studied Saitama intently. And you accomplished all of this in less than a month? Yeah, there are a lot of bad guys here. Indeed. Gilliman released the handshake and gestured toward a private briefing chamber. Walk with me. We have much to discuss. They walked through the fortress halls, Gilliman's strides forcing Sat continue 2319 and others to hurry slightly. The Primars spoke as they moved. I've read Inquisitor Salazar's reports, Brother Captain Hadrian's observations, even Chapter Master Calgar's assessment. All agree on one point. You are the single most powerful individual combatant any of them have encountered. More durable than Primarchs, stronger than demon princes, faster than Eldar, and completely immune to chaos corruption. I just punch things, Saitama said. You just punch things hard enough to atomize greater demons and break demon weapons that have existed since before the Imperium. Gilliman stopped at a massive door inscribed with the ultramarine symbol. Do you understand what that means strategically? That I can help stop bad guys? That you are a weapon of such magnitude that entire campaigns could pivot on your presence. Wars that would cost billions of lives could be ended in hours. Chaos incursions that require chapter strength responses could be handled by you alone. Gilliman's expression was complex. Hope warred with concern. You represent either humanity's salvation or a disaster we cannot anticipate. They entered the briefing chamber. Inside, hololithic displays showed the galaxy split by the Great Rift. Red markers indicated chaos incursions, green showed Tyranid hive fleets, blue marked orc empires. The Imperium was drowning in threats. This is our reality. Gilliman gestured at the displays. 1 million worlds, most of them dying slowly. We fight on 10,000 fronts simultaneously and lose more battles than we win. We're not conquering. We're desperately trying not to lose. And even with the Primaris Marines, even with me returned, we're still failing. Saitama looked at the map. So many red markers. So many places where people were suffering. You could change that, Gilliman continued. With your power properly deployed, we could turn the tide, break chaos strongholds, destroy hive tyrants, shatter orc empires. You could be the Emperor's instrument, his answer to our prayers. You want me to join the Imperium, Saitama said. I want you to save humanity, which requires organization, strategy, and accepting that individual heroics, while admirable, must serve the greater purpose. Gilliman pulled up a tactical display. Take the Nachmund Gauntlet, a narrow corridor through the Great Rift. If we could secure it, we'd reconnect the Imperium. Trillions of lives saved. But it's defended by 3 Chaos Legions, Demon Worlds, and Warp Storms. A conventional campaign would take decades and cost billions of lives. And you think I could just punch my way through? Yes. Frankly, yes. Gilliman's tone held a trace of frustration. But you won't follow orders. You spoke with the Tau against inquisitorial directive. You diverted an entire fleet to save Caelus Tertius against standing orders. You operate on pure instinct, with no regard for strategic planning. Because your strategic planning involves letting people die, Saitama said. On that planet with the Tyranids, your plan was to save 300 million and abandon the rest. I saved 800 million by actually trying. And what about the planets you weren't on? Gilliman's voice rose slightly. While you were on Perdition's fall, 17 other worlds fell to various threats. Billions died. Could you have saved them if you'd been deployed strategically instead of choosing your own targets? The question hung in the air. Saitama was quiet for a moment, remembering his frustration on Perdition's fall. How even with his power, he couldn't be everywhere at once. "I don't know," he admitted. "Maybe. But how do I know your strategies are right? The Imperium has been using strategies for 10,000 years, and you said you're still losing." Gilliman's expression showed pain at that truth. "Because there are no good options, only terrible options and worse ones. We choose which populations to save based on strategic value, which worlds to abandon based on resource allocation, which billions die so trillions might live. It's cold, it's brutal, it's necessary." "What if it's not?" Saitama asked. "What if the reason you're losing is because you've accepted that some people don't matter, that some deaths are acceptable? Maybe if you actually tried to save everyone." "With what resources?" Gilliman interrupted. "I have approximately 1,000 Space Marine chapters. Let's say 1 million Space Marines total. The Imperium spans 1 million worlds with a population in the quadrillions. Even if every Space Marine fought every second of every day, we couldn't protect everyone. Mathematics doesn't care about intentions." "Then get more Space Marines. Or find another way, or there is no other way." Gilliman's composure cracked slightly. "Do you think I enjoy this? Do you think I wanted to return after 10,000 years to find my father's dream turned into a theocratic nightmare where hope itself is heresy? I'm trying to save what I can with what I have. And you," he gestured at Saitama, "you represent the first real advantage I've had. The first weapon that could genuinely change our trajectory. But only if you're willing to be deployed strategically." "I'm not a weapon," Saitama said. "Then what are you?" "A hero for fun. I help people who need help. I punch bad guys. That's it." Gilliman stared at him. This simple man with incomprehensible power who refused to think strategically. The Primarch's mind, perhaps the greatest tactical intellect humanity had ever produced, struggled with the concept. "Let me propose something," Gilliman said carefully. "Work with me, not for me, with me. I'll show you where the threats are. You choose which ones to address. No orders, no demands, just information. If you see a problem you want to solve, you solve it. In return, you allow me to coordinate support, evacuation fleets, Space Marine backup, strategic resources. We work together." "What's the catch?" "No catch, except..." Gilliman hesitated. "Except I may sometimes ask you to choose between two crises. If there's a chaos incursion on World A and a Tyranid invasion on World B, and you can only reach one in time, I'll give you the strategic assessment of which matters more long-term. The final choice remains yours." "And if I choose wrong?" "Then billions may die who could have lived. But that's the galaxy we live in. Billions die every day regardless. At least this way, you save some of them." Saitama looked at the hololithic display, at all those red markers. So many threats, so many people suffering, he couldn't save them all. Perdition's fall had taught him that. But working with someone who knew where help was needed most. "Okay," Saitama said. "I'll work with you. But if I think you're making wrong choices, I'll tell you." "I would expect nothing less." Gilliman extended his hand again. They shook, sealing the agreement. Over the next weeks, they developed a system. Gilliman's intelligence networks identified threats. Saitama chose which ones to address. The Primarch provided tactical support, fleet deployment, evacuation coordination, strategic bombing when necessary. Saitama provided overwhelming combat power. They saved 40 worlds in 3 months. They lost 60 in the same period. But those 40 worlds, populations totaling in the hundreds of billions, would have fallen too without Saitama. And slowly, word spread through the Imperium. A new champion fought for humanity. One who didn't require prayers or sacrifice. One who simply appeared where evil gathered and punched until the evil stopped. The ecclesiarchy didn't know what to make of him. The Mechanicus wanted to study him. The Inquisition remained deeply suspicious. But the common people, the billions upon billions who lived in fear of the galaxy's horrors, they began to hope. And in the grim darkness of the far future, hope was the rarest resource of all. Saitama stood in his assigned quarters one evening, looking at a data slate Guilliman had provided. It showed current threats, projected casualties, strategic priorities. There were always too many, always more than he could handle. "This is exhausting," he said to himself, "and I'm not even the one who's tired." He thought about the guardsmen he'd watched die despite his best efforts. The Space Marines who'd sacrificed themselves buying him time to reach critical targets. The civilians who'd been evacuated, saved, yes. But their worlds burned behind them, everything they'd known reduced to ash. In his universe, being the strongest had made him bored. Here, being the strongest just meant watching people die slightly less than they would have otherwise. But slightly less is still something, he decided. If I can save a few more people than would have lived otherwise, that matters, even if it's not everyone. It was a bitter compromise between his simple philosophy and the galaxy's cruel reality. But it was the best he could do. And in the grim darkness of the far future, the best you can do was all anyone had. 6 months had passed since Saitama's arrival in the 41st millennium. 6 months of endless war, impossible choices, and victories that never felt like winning. He'd saved 300 billion lives across 47 worlds. He'd killed demon princes, hive tyrants, orc war bosses, and chaos champions, whose names had terrorized the Imperium for millennia. He'd become a legend whispered in hab blocks and sang in Imperial Guard barracks, the bald angel, the one-punch saint, the Emperor's simplest miracle. But the galaxy kept bleeding. Saitama stood on the observation deck of the Macraga's Honor, Guilliman's flagship, watching another world burn. They'd arrived too late. The Chaos Cult had already sacrificed billions to summon a demon army. By the time Saitama had punched his way through the demon horde and sealed the warp rift, only a few million remained, refugees now being evacuated while the Imperium prepared exterminatus protocols. Another failure, Saitama said quietly. Another world that would have fallen with 0 survivors, if not for you. Guilliman corrected, stepping beside him. The Primarch had grown to understand Saitama over these months. His simple morality, his refusal to compromise his principles, his frustration at a galaxy that couldn't be saved with pure strength alone. 3 million people are alive because of you. Billions died because I couldn't get there fast enough. Billions die every day regardless of what you do. The galaxy is vast. Evil is infinite. You're one person, Saitama. Even with your power, you cannot be everywhere. Guilliman's tone carried the weight of 10,000 years of similar realizations. The Emperor himself, at the height of his power, with 20 Primarchs and countless armies, couldn't save everyone. He made the same choices I make now. Which worlds matter most? Which populations serve the greater purpose? Which deaths are acceptable costs? I hate that logic. So do I. Gilliman's admission surprised Saitama. Every world I abandon, every evacuation I call too early, every strategic withdrawal that leaves millions to die, I hate it all. But hatred doesn't change mathematics. We work with what we have, save who we can, and carry the weight of those we couldn't. Saitama looked at his fist. In his universe, this fist had solved every problem. One punch, one victory. Clean, simple, heroic. Here, every punch created new problems. Every demon he destroyed attracted more. Every world he saved drew chaos's attention. Every victory was temporary against threats that respawned, regenerated, and never stopped coming. I understand now why everyone here seems so tired, Saitama said. It's not physical tiredness, it's soul tiredness. Knowing that no matter how hard you fight, it's never enough. Welcome to the Imperium of Man, Gilliman said with dark humor. Where hope is heresy because hope requires believing things can improve, and things can only ever get worse. But you keep fighting anyway. Because the alternative is extinction. Because even if we're losing slowly. Each day humanity survives is another day we haven't lost. Each world saved is a few billion more souls who get to live, love, dream, and die as humans, rather than being consumed by Xenos or corrupted by chaos. Gilliman turned to face him. You've changed the equation, Saitama. Not won the war, nobody wins this war, but changed how quickly we lose. That matters. Brother Captain Hadrian approached, his armor showing fresh battle damage from the demon fight. Lord Gilliman, we've received new intelligence. Multiple threats across the segmentum. Tyrannid splinter fleet approaching Cadmos Secundus. Orc Wa. Building in the Mortis Reach. Chaos incursion on Valhalla and... He hesitated. Reports of something new. Something the Mechanicus can't classify. A ship that appeared in the Ghoul's stars. Same dimensional signature as Saitama's arrival. Saitama's head snapped up. Same signature? You mean someone else came through? Possibly, or something. Intelligence is fragmentary, but the warp disturbance matches what we recorded when you arrived. For the first time in months, Saitama felt something other than frustration. Hope, curiosity, the possibility that someone from his universe had followed him here, that he might not be alone in this nightmare galaxy. I need to investigate that, Saitama said. The Ghoul's stars are 3 months' travel at best speed, Gilliman cautioned. And there are immediate threats that require your attention. Cadmos Secundus falls in 2 weeks without intervention, 40 billion lives. But if there's another person from my universe here, they can wait. The people of Cadmos Secundus cannot. Gilliman's tone was firm, but not unkind. This is what I meant about strategic choices. Your personal desire to find someone from home versus 40 billion lives. Which matters more? Saitama clenched his fists. He wanted to argue that both mattered. That he deserved to find out if someone from his universe was here. That after 6 months of endless war and watching billions die despite his best efforts, he'd earned the right to pursue something personal. But 40 billion people, 40 billion individual lives, each one as real as his own. Families, children, people who just wanted to live. Cadmos Secundus first, he decided, the words tasting like ash. Then the Ghoul stars. Gilliman nodded, respect clear in his expression. You're learning. Slowly, painfully, but learning. The galaxy makes us all make choices we hate. I still think there's a better way, Saitama insisted. Somewhere, somehow, there has to be a way to fight this without constantly choosing who dies. If you find it, you'll be the first in 40,000 years. Gilliman accessed a tactical display. The Tyranid fleet approaches Cadmos Secundus from the eastern fringe. I'm dispatching 3 strike cruisers to begin evacuation. You'll drop directly into the primary hive and start eliminating the Tyranid vanguard organisms. Buy us time. How much time? However much you can give us. An hour would save millions. A day would save tens of millions. A week? Guilliman shook his head. Nobody holds against Tyranids for a week. I'll hold for a week, Saitama said with simple confidence. Then Cadmos Secundus might become the first world to survive a Tyranid assault with minimal casualties. Guilliman allowed himself a slight smile. And that, Saitama, is how we change the galaxy. Not with grand victories that save everyone, but with small miracles that save a few more than should have lived. Accumulate enough small miracles, and perhaps humanity survives another millennium. As Saitama prepared for deployment, he looked back at the burning world they'd failed to save completely. 3 million survivors instead of billions. In his old life, that would have been a failure. Here, it was a success. This galaxy is really messed up, he said to Hadrian. Yes, Hadrian agreed. But it's our galaxy, and warriors like you give us something we haven't had in 10,000 years. What's that? The belief that maybe, just maybe, the darkness can be pushed back. Not defeated, not ended, but pushed back inch by bloody inch, world by world, one punch at a time. Hadrian clasped Saitama's shoulder in the Space Marine gesture of brotherhood. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. But now, at least, that war has you. And that's more than we had yesterday. The shuttle bay doors opened. Beyond them, the void of space, and beyond that, Cadmos Secundus. Another world that needed saving. Another impossible battle. Another chance to prove that even in a galaxy of endless horror, heroism still mattered. Saitama stepped into the shuttle, his expression set with determination. He didn't have all the answers. He couldn't save everyone. He couldn't end the eternal war. But he could show up. He could fight. He could punch the bad guys until they stopped being a problem. And in the grim darkness of the far future, where there was only war, sometimes showing up was the most heroic thing of all. Across the galaxy, the Chaos Gods watched with renewed interest. Khorne's rage had cooled to calculating focus. If this anomaly couldn't be corrupted or killed easily, perhaps he could be contained, studied, and eventually overcome. Tzeentch saw paths and possibilities, schemes within schemes to manipulate this unpredictable element. Nurgle found the persistence amusing, life fighting against inevitable decay. Slaanesh sensed potential for corruption through different means, not power or rage, but through the sweet despair of watching everything you save eventually fall. The Tyranid hive mind registered him as a significant threat organism and began adapting, evolving, creating new bioforms specifically designed to counter his capabilities. The Necron's tomb sensors detected anomalous energy signatures and began their ancient calculations, determining if this interloper served or hindered their plans to reclaim the galaxy. The Eldar Farseers saw his thread in the skein of fate. A bright, simple line that cut across impossibly complex tapestries, sometimes unraveling prophecies that had stood for millennia. And on Holy Terra, in the depths of the Imperial Palace, something stirred. The Emperor of Mankind, entombed upon the Golden Throne for 10,000 years, existing in agony to power the Astronomicon and hold back chaos, perceived through his infinite consciousness this new element in his dying Imperium. What he thought, none could say. The Emperor's will was unknowable, his plans spanning millennia. But across the Imperium, holy men and women reported the same vision. A simple warrior in yellow, standing against the darkness with nothing but his fists and an uncomplicated conviction that evil must be stopped. Some called it prophecy. Others called it madness. The ecclesiarchy debated its theological implications. The Inquisition investigated for signs of heresy. The common people simply hoped. And Saitama, ignorant of all this cosmic attention, of schemes and counter-schemes, and the weight of galactic importance placed upon him, prepared to do what he'd always done, show up where he was needed and punch whatever needed punching. It wasn't sophisticated. It wasn't strategic in the way Guilliman preferred. It wasn't the cold calculation the Imperium's survival demanded. But it was honest. It was simple. It was heroic in its purest form. And in a galaxy that had forgotten what simple heroism looked like, that alone was revolutionary. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. More stories await.